Alright guys, what's going on? It is me. We are back for another UFC breakdown video. Today I'm going to be talking about the main event of the UFC Abu Dhabi card this weekend, Magomed Ankalaev versus Bogdan Guskov. So originally this wasn't the fight that was going to take place. Unfortunately, my GOAT, Khalil Roundtree, had to pull out. He's injured right now. Hopefully it's nothing serious and hopefully we can get a Khalil Roundtree fight later this year, hopefully like November, December, assuming his injury isn't that bad. And maybe he'll fight Ankalaev, maybe he'll fight like a Robert Whitaker or Dominic Reyes or something later in the year. But today we are going to be talking about the new fight, which is Magomed Ankalaev versus Bogdan Guskov. Guskov stepped in about a week or two's notice, I'd say. Originally, Guskov was going to fight Jan Blachowicz next week in I think Serbia, unless I'm wrong. That would have been the co-main of that card, which would be the rematch, because originally the two of them had that draw back in December, and the fight's kind of been pushed backwards because Jan tore his meniscus at 42, which is very unfortunate. Um, so today, we're gonna talk about Ankalaev Guskov. So I saw a comparison today on Instagram that for whatever reason compared this fight to Lonnie Kavanaugh versus Brandon Moreno, and the text was like, Brandon Moreno has the home crowd and Lonnie is stepping in on short notice, and it was comparing it to how Ankalaev kind of has the home crowd here in Abu Dhabi, and Bogdan Guskov is stepping on short notice. But I just don't think people understand how different those two fights are. And I know I can't be talking because I've made crazy comparison to fights. I compared Conor versus Max to Van versus Pantoja. But I'm gonna really break this down because if we actually think about this, it's insane to compare these two. You can have some comparisons like Ankalaev and Brandon Moreno are the former champion, and then Guskov Loney stepping in on short notice, and then they're both going into the fighters' home countries, which, well, still, Khalil would have been going to Ankalaev's home country or home crowd, and Asul Mbayev would have gone to Mexico. So that doesn't really matter, I'd say, unless Abu Dhabi fans are fucking banging down on the hotel or something and making Guskov and Khalil unable to sleep. So the real difference between those two fights is one, Brandon Moreno is most certainly washed. We know this. We're at the point where he's getting unranked fighters on his no-shake cards. His last win is Steve Erceg, and Steve Erceg's kind of on a comeback. He's the co-main this weekend. I think he's going to win that fight. But at the time, Brandon Moreno was trying to make a title comeback, but then, he, I believe his loss streak started with Tatsuro Taira. He got TKO'd by Tatsuro Taira, and then he just kind of gets, outclassed on the feet by Lonnie Kavanaugh. And, he's probably going to win his next fight, but, there aren't many, winnable matchups for him left at 125. Not saying he could win any fights at 135. I'm not going to say his chin shot. He's just definitely too old for the division and where it's at with all these young up-and-coming strikers and a couple grapplers. But when we look at Magomed Ankalaev, yeah, he got TKO'd by Pereira, but that's nothing to scoff at. Yuri Prohaska got KO'd by Pereira twice and still won multiple fights and got another title shot. Khalil Roundtree got knocked out by Pereira and then came back and beat Jamal Hill. Who else got KO'd by Pereira? We're not going to talk about Jamal Hill. Izzy got KO'd by Pereira. What I'm trying to say is that just because Magomed got knocked out by Pereira doesn't mean this guy is washed and he's terrible. Magomed Ankalaev is you Dagestani fans are going to love when I say this. He is an elite light heavyweight, and he has been an elite light heavyweight ever since, I'd say, the Uzdemir fight he had. That was back in 2021, I'd say. This guy has been in the middle or to the top of light heavyweight. And he has kind of been I guess underrated in the sense that he probably should have gotten a title shot a lot sooner in hindsight, after the draw against Jan Blachowicz. They probably should have just done a rematch between the two of them, but that doesn't matter. Um, so Ankalaev is a top light heavyweight. And Moreno isn't a top flyweight anymore. So when you have like a young and hungry up and coming guy coming into this matchup, it really matters who they're fighting. And I think here this is going to be the difference between those two fights, and that's why I think that comparison is really stupid. Because Magomed Ankalaev is a former champion. His only two losses in the UFC are Paul Craig and Alex Pereira. I definitely don't like take stock off him for losing to Pereira because initially he won that fight against Pereira and I thought he looked pretty good. He rocked Pereira on the feet. I guess uh, kind of made us remember that Pereira can be a little chinny if you hit him right, and you've hit him like I guess like if you got the power in your hands, you can rock Pereira. So and I also think that people forget Magomed does have power in his hands. And if he gets the opportunity, he will chin you. He chinned Johnny Walker. He chinned Ian Laba. He chinned Marcin Petrino. But he does have a lot more decisions, and I think that definitely like makes people like underestimate this power because he does have power in his hands, and I definitely think that sometimes he might be a little afraid to use it, but he definitely has it. He definitely has the ability to rock you. I definitely think he could rock Bogdan, but that's gonna like I'll talk about that a little later. But I definitely think Ankalaev is like a little underrated, especially going into this matchup with Bogdan Guskov, because Bogdan's this up and coming guy. And I will give Bogdan his credit. He 10-8'd Jan Blachowicz, knocked him down, hurt him real bad, and almost finished the Blachowicz fight. But it's the cardio with Bogdan Guskov, and you're gonna hear me say this a lot when you have any sort of major matchup between young and hungry guy versus like established former champ or like veteran of like the UFC type guy. Mm, like I definitely will always worry about the young up and coming strikers cardio, especially when he's going up against a guy like Ankalaev, who we know has like good cardio. Like I know like a bunch of decisions doesn't always equal good cardio, but he puts good pace on guys. He can like work like anywhere. Like he fights like he strikes good anywhere. He can strike to the head, body, like he mixes up. He's very technical and he can do that over the span of 3 rounds, 5 rounds. He did it over 5 rounds, I guess not really against Jan, but he also did 5 rounds against Pereira, and he wasn't afraid to use grappling either. Although he didn't get a takedown, he used clinch wrestling pretty well against Pereira to shut down Pereira's striking offense. So when I see a guy like Ankalaev, and I definitely think he has very good 5 round cardio. He has been in main. Oh, I forgot. He also was in a 5 rounder with Thiago Santos. So Magomed has way more 5 round experience with Bogdan. If this was a 3 round fight, I'd maybe kind of start leaning towards Bogdan. You never know with the cardio because he kind of got hunted down a little in the 3rd round against Jan. Um, with Magomed, it's like this guy like can go to decision and he can pace himself comfortably over the span of a 3 to 5 round fight. Where I really worry about Bogdan because he really spent a lot of energy in that 2nd round against Jan, really trying to finish him with the ground and pound, the elbows, and he really did hurt Jan. He 10-8'd him there. But then going into the 3rd, you can definitely kind of tell Bogdan was definitely getting a little tired because I don't think Bogdan has that 3 to 5 round experience that he really needs to be in the top 5 of this light heavyweight division. Even though a lot of the top 5 light heavyweight matchups end in like early finishes, that doesn't stop a guy like Magomed Ankalaev or Khalil Roundtree Jr. To try and drag Bogdan into like a 5 round sort of war, or even Yuri Prohaska, who just wears on guys if he can't get the 1st round knockout. So going into this, I think Bogdan's like best move here is to just not even try to like play like into Ankalaev's game. Ankalaev's game is just to get into like a technical kickboxing, a little bit of like Muay Thai clinch fight where he's just like picking his shots on the feet. He'll pick a body, he'll pick a leg strike, he'll uh throw a good like combination body head, a little bit of the leg. Bogdan can't let that happen. Bogdan can't get like comfortable or like get like patient on the feet, I'd say. I think his best way of success here is trying to probably put Ankalaev out early because if he just lets Ankalaev like just be technical on the feet and kind of just pick him apart, he's gonna lose a 5 round fight. Let's be like perfectly honest, and he's not going to be like down 4-0 going into the fifth and going to knock out Ankalaev. Because I definitely don't think he has the cardio for that, especially if he's like, especially if Ankalaev works him with the pace. If Ankalaev works a good pace on him over the span of 5 rounds, I could definitely see Bogdan wilting because he just doesn't have the 5 round experience going into this main event and kind of on short notice against a new opponent. So what Bogdan like is probably going to be his best success, and why even in this title I say this fight will be close for 2 rounds. What I think Bogdan is going to do, and what I'd recommend to him, like if I was like his coach or whatever, is we can't let Magomed just be technical and like set the pace on the feet. We got to go out there and just try to chop at the low kicks because we know Ankalaev is he's not shinny to the legs, but, leg strikes are definitely a good thing to use against him. Khalil Roundtree would have used that very well because he has good calf kicks against Ankalaev. That would have been a totally different breakdown here. But Bogdan has to go at him early, and that's what I think he'll do. He'll go after Ankalaev early because he's an early finisher. That's what he knows. Like, that's what he knows to do. He finishes guys in the first, second round, and just goes after them, and kind of just beats them up. Like he beat up Nikita Krylov. He beat up Ryan Spann, Billy Elikana. So against Ankalaev, what I think is his best shot is attacking low super early, really working the legs of Ankalaev, starting to break him down. And then if he can find it, just hit Ankalaev with like the hardest shot he can, put a good combo, put down Ankalaev, maybe like with a counter or something, and then like jumping on the finish. That's the only way I can really see Guskov like winning this matchup, because I definitely think Ankalaev is just so used to like 5 or 3 round fights where he just has the cardio, and Guskov really doesn't. I think his only 3rd round fight, 3 round fight ever, or maybe just in the UFC, was against Jan, and he definitely looked a little tired. Let me go back to this slide because that slide's kind of like the end slide. But yeah, Bogdan definitely looked like he was kind of getting a little tired against Jan in that 3rd round because he's just spent so much energy. And I guess that's kind of the double-edged sword, because if he spends so much energy going after Ankalaev in the first 2 rounds trying to finish him, and maybe even winning those first 2 rounds, Ankalaev's just gonna like use like him tiring out and just like picking him apart, being technical on the feet, just kind of doing whatever he wants. Maybe not anything he wants. I doubt Ankalaev could take down Guskov, because Guskov does have a little jujitsu. Nothing crazy, but definitely good enough jujitsu for light heavyweight. The only real jujitsu guy left at light heavyweight, I'd say, is Jan. Jan has decent submission, but he's mostly a kickboxer. I can't really think of many other grapplers at light heavyweight besides Jan, Yuri. I guess but Ank's never been a grappler, guys. I don't know, like, in this first Pereira fight, where this idea that Ankalaev is like a wrestler came from. Just because he's from Dagestan doesn't mean he's a wrestler. Just like Chanko this weekend. Chanko isn't primarily a wrestler. He will use it, just like Ankalaev has used it, because he is in an area where there are significantly more like wrestling bases in training. So he probably has wrestling, but he probably doesn't want to use it as much as his striking, which Ankalaev is really more confident in. Why would he use wrestling when he's like won plenty of like all of his fights really on the feet, and like he's even had a couple knockouts just like being on the feet, not threatening with the grappling. So going into this one, I don't think there will be any grappling in this, and I think first two, like, this is like kind of like the layout of this fight. First 2 rounds, I think we're going to see Guskov attack early. Like, he's going to really try and go out there and try to work Ankalaev. Unless he's facing himself for a 5 rounder, then that's completely different. But I think what he's probably going to try and do is he's going to try to get Ankalaev out there early. Like, he's probably going to, from watching the second Pereira fight, Guskov's going to be like, you know what? Let me just put a lot of pressure on Ankalaev and work the low kicks and back him up against the fence and see if I can find a counter or like a hard shot and like put down Ankalaev and finish him. So that's what I think the first 2 rounds would be. But then I think Ankalaev does have pretty good defense. But it's like, I guess with the second Pereira fight, it's hard to like, defend against Pereira when Pereira's just shoving you up against the fence, attacking low kicks and throwing overhands. So I think Magomed will survive because I don't think Bogdan has the offense that Pereira does. And he will like, if he does get rocked or something like in the first 2 rounds, I think he will recover very well And then going into that third, I think Bogdan will begin to like weather a little bit. He'll start to slow down. You'll definitely see him probably like getting a little tired. And then Ankalaev's just going to start being technical, working him on the feet, body kicks, head kicks, calf kicks, especially. I know Ankalaev isn't afraid to like trade calf kicks, especially in the first Pereira fight. So I could definitely see like third, four, five, like all just being like technical Ankalaev fights. And this fight might not be that exciting, guys. Let's be honest. If you don't like technical striking, you probably aren't going to like Ankalaev fights. You'll like the first 2 rounds because I think Bogdan will come out hard and he's really going to try set the tone and be aggressive like Pereira did against Ankalaev and try to knock out Ankalaev as early as possible and finish him. But I definitely think Ankalaev will be smart with the defense. He'll check and defend any calf kicks Bogdan might try to throw, trying to be like Pereira. And then he'll, circle out probably. If like Bogdan's backing him up against the cage, Ankalaev will use his footwork and circle out away and keep it in the center and just work him technically on the feet. So I could totally see this being like a 48-47 Ankalaev, or I'm not sure if Ankalaev could like knock him out late unless Guskov like really tires, kind of like he did in the Yan fight. Maybe Ankalaev could find an opportunity and truly pounce on it. But just for this fight, only like success I really give Bogdan is in the first 2 rounds, which should be close or just Bogdan rounds because Ankalaev's just kind of gonna be chill, kind of pace it out for this 5-round fight that he like knows he's been in and he has experience in. Um, but if Bogdan tries to like stick a pace with Ankalaev, I think he's just gonna get technically worked on the feet, and he's not gonna find any success unless he can like fluke a counter. I don't really see him like chinning Ankalaev because I don't think Ankalaev's chinny, guys. Like I know he got knocked down by Thiago Santos and he got rocked hard on the feet by Pereira. I think he does have very good striking defense. You can see that with all like the guys he's fought. He's fought good strikers. He's fought Uzdemir. He's fought Johnny Walker. He's fought Alexander Rakic. He's fought Jan Blachowicz. And the only thing out of all that we can really say is that Ankalaev kind of has trouble with the leg kicks. But unless you have like truly good leg kicks, and I'm not sure Bogdan Guskov really has the elite leg kicks of Jan Blachowicz and Alex Pereira, I think Ankalaev will do just fine. And I think Ankalaev will just do what he does. He just gets technical. He might maybe rock Bogdan, might have an opportunity late from, setting like the pace, and then Bogdan doesn't expect it, and then Ankalaev throws in like a hard counter like what Ankalaev did against Pereira. Definitely don't expect like a submission here, no grappling. I don't really expect an Ankalaev knockout unless Bogdan really like fades, like I said earlier. So what I'd expect, guys, just like technical, close first rounds, and then in the championship rounds, Magomed just shows like the experience difference of the two and just puts on like a technical masterclass on the feet. I don't really have much else to say about this fight. Did I already say earlier? Unfortunately, I will not be able to watch this card because it's during the day where I'm at and I have work. So unfortunately, there will not be a card breakdown for this unless there's some chance that I like work gets called off and I'll be able to watch the card. And I didn't put any of like any other like predictions on this fight. I might, if you guys talk about it in the comments, I'll like give you guys some of my takes on like what the rest of the main card and prelims are going to look like. But that's just kind of like my personal like idea of how this main event is going to go. As always, let me know what y'all think about this fight in the comments down below, and I will see you all in the next video next week. We're definitely going to have a Belgrade video. See you all in the next one. Goodbye.